What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ron Line Report. Great guest today. Most pros never win one show in their career. This guy already has 2 pro wins. He's headed to the Olympia. Please welcome from Texas, Jordan Hutchinson. How are you, Jordan?
Thank you, Ron. I'm doing great, man. It's finally set in what just happened these last 2 weeks, so I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it was a total surprise. I followed the updates, and my buddy Giles Thomas over in the UK, he had you picked as the favorite for Texas, which that's the show we all knew you were doing. And then once you put your name once your name popped up on the Tampa list, kind of unexpectedly, said, "Uh-oh, well, you know, this is going to be a battle with him and Quint," which it turned out to be. But man, like I said, most pros, believe it or not, for you guys at home, they never win a single pro show in their entire career. They never get to the Olympia. 29 years old, you're already got 2 wins. I want to start with an origin story. I like every superhero's origin story because I don't know, how did you get into bodybuilding? How did you become a bodybuilder, Jordan?
It's a funny story. So I played basketball my whole life from the age of 4. I loved it. And then, I grew earlier in middle school and I was one of the taller guys.
Yeah.
And then by like 14, everybody passed me. And, I loved playing like the big positions like power forward or whatever. And, I ended up having to play like the smaller positions and realize, okay, I'm 5'10". I don't really have a future in this. I'd have to be really, really good to go play college ball or whatever. So I jumped in and played 1 year of football my junior year. And during that time, I hated weight training. Like I did P90X at home. I did tons of athletic stuff. I had like a 40-inch vertical. I could dunk 2 hands.
Wow.
I was very, very athletic, but I played football and I just had no talent as far as like understanding the game and being able to play it well. But I had just raw athletic talent ability.
Yeah.
And the football team really was talking me into getting into the YMCA and lifting weights, which I always was just there playing basketball. I just hated it. And I remember even looking at one of my soccer buddies binging 135 for 10 reps. I'm like, I'll never be able to do that. Like I was a skinny guy. I had decent sized legs, never trained them, but I was skinny. Yeah. And then I just started touching the weights and I started learning and I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. I don't hate this. And then next thing you know, I gained 30 pounds of muscle out of nowhere, staying lean, eating whatever I wanted, McDonald's pre-workout meal, just like the typical 17-year-old eat and grow, get a burrito post workout. And so I kept gaining size. And then maybe a year and a half into it, I gained so much muscle for my frame. People at the gym were at the YMCA of all places were like, you really should compete. And I was like, man, I can't imagine doing that. I'd watched videos of Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson, Jay Cutler, Ronnie, Dorian. Like I was all into that, the training aspect. And I absolutely fell in love with training. But I got really strong, but that, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to step on stage in like a man bikini and pose and put a tan on. It's just kind of weird. Yeah. But I kept having people tell me like, you have something here. And so 2015, I did my first show. It's a Carolina Supernatural down in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And coached myself and had no idea what I was doing. Was doing like 4 0 carb days in a row, then an all-out cheat day every 5th day, thinking that was a good refeed idea. And I got in decent shape. I was on stage like probably 180 or something like that. And it was as soon as I did the show, like prior to the show, I was like, I don't think this is for me. I hate this. I hate the way I feel. I'm tired. I don't love the gym anymore. And as soon as I got on stage and did it, I was absolutely hooked to the process, and it just took off from there. So that was kind of my origin.
So which bodybuilders inspired you? You mentioned Branch and Johnny, and you ended up moving close to them. But were there any guys you sort of looked up to in your early years?
I mean, it really was Dorian Yates. It always was Dorian. It's all, the way he trained, his mentality. He wasn't the guy that was super genetically gifted, but relied on his hard work. Like over the years of me training, I've always said this to people that genetics will only, once I was into bodybuilding, I always said genetics will be the only limiting thing for me. It will never be me being outworked or outdisciplined. I've always been very focused on my craft and learning how to train harder, learning how to apply myself better. And I loved that mentality from Dorian. So he's always been my favorite. And I've always loved the mass guys. So it's funny because for most of my time bodybuilding, I've always been a shape guy, and every single bit of feedback has always been, you need more size, you need more size. Great shape, but you need more size. And so it's really cool now because finally, I've kind of come into my own where I have the majority of the size needed. There's still detail work to be done. My back needs more, but it's just a long game, man. It's been 12 years of hard training. I've never taken any extended period off. It's just I love training. And so, it was Dorian, it was Branch Warren. I remember, being 18 years old, wearing the only gas tank that I could afford, and watching Branch and Johnny train on YouTube prior to my workout to pump me up,
Yeah.
So it's just always been a love for training and the guys that train really, really hard.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. You had a post, guy, because you post a lot. I'm trying to find one that showed a 2018 to 2024 progression. I think it was. So that wasn't even your first show. That was 3 years into competing.
Yeah, that would be way back probably. I don't know where that would have been.
But I'm trying to give people out there hope,
Yeah.
Because you and Palacios both are two guys that were a few years ago. You didn't look like this. You were muscular, but you didn't look like this.
2018, I was still an amateur, and I can show you a picture here on the computer what I looked like back then. I was.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow. So what'd you weigh? What'd you weigh there in 2018?
I was about 195,
Wow.
and I, believe it or not, had lost 60 pounds in 16 weeks in that show prep because my hamstrings and my glutes would not come in. And I think I was just burying myself, over fatigued, nothing against the coach that I had, but I think I was over dieted, over cardio, but between eating 0 carbs, 1,600 calories, and doing, 45 minutes of interval, hit interval stairs twice a day. I was just beating myself up, training 6 days a week, but nobody could tell me otherwise because I wasn't going to quit. So looking back, I was like, wow, that was a disaster of a prep. But, it was the first time I got really, truly peeled.
Yeah.
It was 2018. And then after that, I took a whole 3 years off. And the very next show was my regional show prior to winning USA overall. So
wow.
I went from 2018. I was just determined because I wanted to go compete at the national level, but I knew I wasn't ready. So I just put in the work. I got a little chubby in those 3 years of that off season, but then I got with Chris Tuttle in 2020, and it really took off once that happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've been with Tuttle a very long time.
Going on 6 years next year. Yeah.
So I've known Chris a long time too, and he's one of the smartest guys in the business.
He is.
He's a registered dietitian. He's got that going on aside from being a great prep coach. What do you like about his approach? Just the way he handles you as a client versus maybe a coach that you had before Chris.
Well, I mean, first off, Chris is family at this point. He has been for years. I would do anything for him. He'd do anything for me. It's so much more than a client-coach relationship now. I mean, he's the best thing that ever happened to me for bodybuilding, him and my wife, as far as her support and him coaching me. But, he's very data-oriented. He doesn't just dogmatically do things because it's the thing everybody does, whether it's supplements, whether it's nutrition, like this prep, for instance. Early on in the prep, all my buddies were like, bro, why are you eating such low carbs already? Like my diet was really low to start with, but we get ready really early, and everybody generally sees that, comments on it, where they're like, man, why are you so lean so far out? But then we feed into the show. We gather tons of data. We get to run plenty of mock carb up days. He's just very much following the data, following where the body is leading. Not, this is what I've done before with other guys. This is what other people do generally. So we're going to do it too. It's really always, how is the body responding to each thing? Add one thing in at a time, remove one thing at a time. And he's a genius, man. And I actually, believe it or not, had to beg him to start with me because he had such a he's always got a wait list, and he refuses. That's another thing about Chris. He refuses to take on a workload that he can't handle. If Chris took on everybody that requested him, the dude would be like, I mean, I know he makes a good living for himself 100%, but like, it would be absolutely ridiculous. But he doesn't just take everyone on. So, when I reached out to him, I had been with a prior coach who was a top level coach, and I totally respect the guy. I won't name who it was, but at the time I just wasn't getting the attention I needed from him. And I don't think he saw my potential. And Chris really kind of saw some decent potential from me in the early stages. But I think once we really started rolling, he was like, wow, this kid's got something special. So, 6-7 months after a year and a half after we started, it was January 2020. Then a year and a half later, we won the USA overall. And wow. I say to everybody, we went from the start to the finish. Like, he took me everywhere that I've come to at this point. And I'll finish my career with Chris. So
wow. That's a bold statement, but I've known a few people who did that. They stayed with one coach who was meticulous, who cared about them, who was also a friend, like Flex Lewis and Neil Hill comes to mind.
Right.
Ronnie and Chad. Now, there's been a few of those, and the success stories, it paid off in dividends for those who did it. Because you see so many people just flipping coaches constantly.
I know.
After one show where they didn't win, they're like, oh, let me try this guy. Let me try that guy.
Yeah, I think it's a problem with looking internally, man. It's like, sometimes it is a problem with the communication or the approach, and maybe the coach isn't listening to their feedback. But like, more often than not, there's usually a problem with the client. That's like, you guys got to work long enough to get on the same page and figure out what works. You got to give them a chance. And if you keep copying, like, no coach is going to have a chance to really figure your body out. So,
I agree. I mean, I think it takes even the best coach, it's going to take them a little while to learn the body.
For sure.
At least a couple preps to really nail it. So
absolutely.
This is what I really want to show. This is what fascinates me, because you had a good year last year. You put yourself on the map last year. It was a great progression. 3 shows in a row. It was, I think I got the order right. Chicago was first. You were 5th.
Yeah.
Tampa was next. You were 3rd. And then Texas was last, and you moved up to 2nd.
Yeah.
But it was 2nd place to Andrew Jacked.
Yeah.
A top 5 Olympian.
Yeah, I knew I was fighting for 2nd unless he came in like off-season guest posing shape.
Yeah, I mean, that's one guy. There's no shame in losing to somebody like that.
Right.
But look at the progression, guys. On here, this is on your Instagram from 2040. Both shows are Texas, so the lighting's really good. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. So it was 10 or 12 pounds. It's hard to be exact. Which I know to a lot of people out there, they say, I can gain 10. You're not going to gain 10, 12 pounds of lean muscle tissue, guys. It's a lot of fat and water that you gain that you think. This is 12 pounds of actual lean stage weight that Jordan put on. And the thing that amazes me is you didn't have the smooth full year off season like people probably assumed you did.
Yeah, I almost didn't compete at all this year.
Yeah, I know you've gone into it on, I think I'm like your 4th podcast this week. But
I'm happy to go into it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start it off. You elected for gyno surgery, something that had presented as early as 12 years old with you, which it was barely noticeable. You figured you'd take care of it. And that's where, it should have been a pretty easy, quick recovery. But what happened? Your doctor told you it was okay to start training right away?
Yeah. So, and no disrespect at all to him. He was the most amazing he could have been for me. Like, the guy texted me while I was neurotically freaking out about not being able to be in the gym and what was happening. He was texting me every day. So this doctor, I couldn't recommend him enough to other people. And if anybody wants a good doctor that's in Staten Island, just DM me. We'll talk about him. But the surgery went amazingly well, to the extent that 5 days post-surgery, he's like, man, we have no hematoma, no seroma. Like, everything's perfect. Everything's gone. Like, it's already wrapping to the skin, like skin wrapping to the muscle. Everything's great.
Yeah.
He's like, honestly, you can go and train anything but chest. Just don't do like any pull downs or anything that stretches the chest. So of course I said to him, I'm like, look, if you tell me I can go train, I'm going tomorrow. Like, I'm trusting you here. But the problem is, it's no fault of his own. It's, I think when you are at a certain size, where I'm sure I'm the biggest, he's never worked on a pro. So
Yeah.
I probably had the most muscle mass of anybody he'd ever worked on. And at that point, you know, a guy at my size, if I go and train my legs, I'm getting a full body flush of blood. Like, blood's going everywhere. The chest is going to get pumped just indirectly from me moving, you know. So the more I researched after the complications, the more I realized that any kind of movement, even if it's not directly that muscle, can really cause fluid to go into a dead space. And so that's what happened. So then I had, you know, 30 cc's of fluid fill up in the left side, which is where they pulled more from.
Yeah.
The right side had a little bit, but yeah, man, what should have been a 2-3 week recovery turned into like 5-6 weeks, and then having to tiptoe back into training and still deal with the repercussions of it and it was all the way into the first stages of jumping into Texas Pro prep 15 weeks out that it still wasn't right. And luckily I got with a local surgeon that was able to fix the scar tissue that resulted from the seroma that happened. So I swear I could pass any course on gyno surgery and recovery at this point because of all the research I did. But it turned out perfect. Everything's good. Now everybody jokes about how like I have striations through the nipple when I pose. So I mean, it turned out great. But yeah, man, I had that surgery, which already had to be extended due to travel with GASP, and then I went to the Olympia with GASP, and so that got pushed off. And then I got pneumonia at the end of December into January. That was like 5 weeks, 6 weeks of like couldn't breathe well, and my lungs sounded terrible for 2 months.
Jeez.
So, you know, we get all the way to like March. It was around Easter. It was a week before Easter. And I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, I just don't know that it's even this year. I just feel like I need to take the year off because there's just no way I made enough progress with how this off season went. And you just can't tell until you strip the fat off. And I really improve in prep too. So, but she looked at me and she's like, we're right here 30 minutes from the venue. It would be good for you to see where you're at. You'd be dumb not to do Texas Pro. And so I was like, that's all I need to hear from my wife. If she said I'd be dumb not to do something, then I'm not going to be a dummy. So jumped into Texas Pro prep, and everything went as good as the prep could possibly have gone.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw these pictures, this was before Tampa, right?
Yep. I think I was like 5. No, that may have been right after. That was between Tampa and Texas, actually.
I mean, you looked pretty much like that leading into Tampa anyway. I mean, when we saw the pictures, we were like, I don't know who's beating that. I mean, you got mass, you got grainy condition that you don't see that condition very. You mentioned Branch and Dorian, which was ironic because that's the type of skin texture and just detail, that grainy hard look that we don't see a lot of anymore.
Well, I think it is because of me emulating maybe not exactly how they train. Like Branch was more ballistic training than I am.
Yeah.
But I adopt things. I've adopted things from him as far as intensity. I've adopted things from Dorian. I remember back when I was in my 20s, I got a couple comments from, you know, trainers in my old school hardcore gym I went to, like saying, I haven't seen someone train like you since the guys in the 90s, you know? So like I just have tried to adopt that style of training. And I think that that's what makes that hard striated muscle, where it's maybe taken me longer to grow than someone like Rubiel or one of these other guys that just they blow up really quick.
Yeah.
I think when you have a slow progression and you're training really, really intensely, it creates that look like through my chest where I have the separated striated muscle in my glutes. So I'm proud of that because it's something that takes patience and just working year after year for it. But to even be compared to Branch or Dorian is an honor for me.
I mean, even a little bit facially, you kind of remind me of Branch.
Yeah, it's funny how many comments I get of that. I tell Branch has become like a mentor of mine, and it's awesome to be involved with him. And even before the show, it was funny because my wife works with Gasp, so she's in the office showing Branch my updates. He's like asking her for, "Oh, what's Jordan looking like?" You know.
Yeah.
And he's been very encouraging. And he already said before the show, he's like, "Jordan's winning Tampa or Texas or both." And so that was all the encouragement I needed, you know.
So let me go back to the before and afters because I want to get this out of the way. I want you to address because as soon as someone says I put on 12 pounds of muscle, they automatically assume he doubled his gear. It's always trend.
Yeah. And that's what's hilarious is that's the lowest thing I use.
Dude. So yeah, please address that because people are going to assume, well, he just tripled his PED dosages, and that's why he gained all this weight.
Yeah, I mean, and people don't believe me when I get this DM all the time, and it's like, look, man, I improved my training IQ. I was absolutely obsessive all off season about getting in bed at 10:30.
Yeah.
I went to bed at the same time. I woke up at the same time. I did my fasted walk at the same time. I got my meals in at the same time, trained at the same time. I did the same workouts every week and improved on my numbers steadily, progressively. If something stopped working or started causing overuse injuries, then I switched the exercise out. You know, it's like there's no magic thing to it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, anybody that knows Chris Tuttle knows he's one of the most conservative coaches in the industry, to the extent that my buddies, some of them make fun of me about the bikini doses that I take of certain things in prep. You know, it's just I'm big on health. If I can't do this for a long time, what am I doing it for?
Yeah.
Whether I was an amateur competing for a plastic trophy, whether I was an amateur competing to get the card and then just be done once I get a pro card, or whether I'm trying to kill it on the Olympia stage, there's no reason to abuse my body. So a healthy body is a body that recovers well, processes things well. You don't have complications where you have other obstacles and other things to have to deal with. So people always want to make assumptions that that's what it is because they don't know how to dig hard enough, but also manage their recovery and be rigid enough with their scheduling. I can't explain how important it is to make sure like your digestion, your sleep, all those things are on point. And that's what Chris and I focus on. Training IQ and recovery. All you have to do is make sure you're recovering and improving, and the muscle's going to be put on. But you know, not to say I'm not on, you know, it's what's required, but minimal effective dose. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, when I see the doses that people think the pros are on, and they post this, they're lying. This is what they really use. I used to sit there and argue, and I don't waste my time anymore. But I used to say, do you realize if someone was doing all that, they would be in liver failure or kidney failure or both within a few months?
Yeah,
there's just no way. Nobody could tolerate that. They would be so unhealthy. They'd be dropping.
and I'm not willing to do that. It's funny, when I started with Chris early on, I was close to 270. And I remember the first blood work I sent him, he's like, I don't believe this is your blood work. This is insane. Like, because it looked so good. And I've always maintained that. So like, I'm not willing to give that up. And my body, I feel like, shows it, because a lot of people, I get the comment from a lot of people, they're like, your body just looks clean. Like your skin looks clean. You have a clean physique. Like it doesn't have that kind of look. It's like, so, and which I appreciate. And I appreciate that from Chris because he's always kept me level-headed. And he'll say the same. He appreciates me because I don't go and get opinions from others where they say, oh, come on, bro, like that's not going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I believe it will. And, you do your thing, I'll do mine. You can run your DNP and prep if you want. Like I'm going to steer far clear from that.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's not to say I'm trying to sit here and be high and mighty that I'm not pushing what other guys are.
Yeah.
It's not a a claim of mine, but it's just the fact of the matter is I'd rather be healthy and sleep well and prioritize my health.
So we're looking at you and your training partner, Justin Wyatt. And, how important is it to have a great training partner? Because, even Dorian, you mentioned Dorian. Dorian had that Leroy guy screaming in his ear, the drill instructor. Branch had Johnny, the Franco, and I mean, there have been some great instances of guys who really pushed each other to be their best. How long have you been training with Justin? Because he looks like a big sucker himself.
Yeah, Justin has been incredible, man. And I have a couple other guys that I've trained with in the last year. I trained a lot with Brandon Barrow for a real good bit of time. And then Elias McCall is another pro around here that I train with. But Justin, we've trained on and off because he's from Arkansas. We trained on and off every time he visited. When he visited, he would stay in my guest room and we'd go train every day, whether it was me and him or me, him, and Brandon Barrow. And we always had a good time. And then Justin moved here. And at this point, time has flown so fast. I don't even remember how long it's been. Maybe at least 3 months, maybe 4 months. But he just trains so hard, man. But within reason, and he trains smart. And so he's somebody he's really a genius when it comes to putting a plan together, what needs to happen, how volume wise. I'm good at that too. And Chris doesn't necessarily run my training. We kind of agree on things together.
Yeah.
And there's certain things Chris will schedule in for me, like specific things for core control and stuff. But me and Justin run our own training, and my goal has been a better back because Justin has a freakish back, striated in his lats from the top down to his hip, just crazy. And since I started training with him, which has been during my prep that he moved, my back has improved immensely. So I can't imagine what an off season with him is going to do, but it's been really cool, man, because we have really great chemistry together. If he's having a bad day in prep, then I pick him up. If I'm having a bad day, he picks me up, and we really do a good job of keeping each other's mindset right. And not to mention it's in and outside the gym that our friendship has really deepened. So we got to do Texas Pro together and prep for that together. And it's been truly special. I've never had someone push me as hard as him. I will say that. And so we've just been running it hard and just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, I want to point out, because I know on another podcast you said Justin didn't always have a great back. So that's someone who actually built it versus, maybe he just was going to have a great back anyway.
Yeah, you always hear, like, if you want to get big arms and delts, like, you probably shouldn't ask Phil Heath because he could do anything and that they would grow. Not that he didn't work hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Justin has built an incredible back. And so the tips and cues he gives me, I like to be coachable. I'm not one of these guys that's like, and him and I have talked about this. You can't be one of these guys that's like, well, I'm placing higher than you. I'm like, I probably know more than you. There's so many egos in bodybuilding, and it's if you think you know everything, you've lost, because you're going to lose the information and the benefits you can get from other people that may be better, more knowledgeable about a certain area that could help your physique. And clearly I have a very dense physique everywhere, but my back is lagging a little bit. So he's helped me a ton with just like adjusting small parts of my form when I'm doing a pull down, when I'm doing a row. And it's really helped me with that connection and picking certain exercises that are really going to bring up those points that I need to bring up at this point, and not just going for a heavy dumbbell row, a heavy barbell row, heavy wide grip pull down, like we've got to be very specific with our exercise selection. So it's been really good.
Yeah, it's paid off. I mean, in those before and after pics, your back has definitely come up. It's a work in progress. You know, you're 29 years old. You've only been a pro a couple of years. You know, your full potential is still a couple of years away. You're not as good as you're going to be. You're going to be much better than what we're seeing right now. I know this.
Right.
Just following the sport as long as I have. What's my next question? Yeah, I'm all over the place with
No, you're good. But I did want to say it's funny that you mentioned Branch and Johnny, kind of that camaraderie. Yeah. I can't tell you the amount of comments too that me and Justin get on all our YouTube videos. There's a ton of training of me and Justin on the Gasp channel, Muscle and Fitness, my YouTube channel, if you guys want to watch. But everybody's like, this is like the new Branch and Johnny training together, you know, so that's meant a lot too.
Now I know what I want to ask. So Tampa Pro, you jumped in because you were in great shape and it made sense. You're already there. But some people were upset because they felt Quentin was that was supposed to be Quentin's show. They want to see Quentin at the Olympia. I'm of the opinion that, you know, the Olympia is supposed to be the elite of the elite. If you can't beat someone at the show leading up to the Olympia, you're not going to beat them in the Olympia anyway. So why do you necessarily deserve? And then you got heat for doing the Texas Pro, which was your plan all along. You're saying, well, he's already got his Olympia qualification. Why doesn't he let someone else get it?
Why wouldn't I do it in my backyard?
I mean, you said 30 minutes from your house?
30, yeah.
Yeah. But tell me the thought process that went into jumping into Tampa, because, you know, it's not like it was you're going over to Europe or anything, but still it was a whole extra traveling situation you had to put yourself in.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, last year we did Chicago, Tampa, Texas. I got better every show. Tampa last year, I felt I spilled over a little bit. Was very blasting full, but just like I was even sweating a little bit on stage at finals, like tan bleeding off some. So, and then Texas was my best look of last year. So I got better every show. And I remember last year, Tyler Mannion after Texas was like, dude, if you brought this look to Tampa, you probably could have won last weekend. So, you know, it's data. It's like, it's nothing for me to fly down to Tampa. I'm not flying overseas. Texas was the last U.S. qualifier show, so I'm only giving myself one shot.
Right.
I'd already committed to Battle Up Productions, Freddie Nadu, Sheila. They're incredible, and they had already been posting about me, and I'd already signed the contract. Like, what am I going to say? Oh, well, I got my Olympia qualification, so I'm going to pay the $1,000 to get out of my contract so I can give someone else a chance. Yeah. You know, like, that's not bodybuilding. If you listen to, like, the 90s guys, Milos, all these people, like, this is our job. This is how I put food on my family's table.
Right.
So, like, I'm here to compete, and yes, we're here. Like, what did Reagan did a couple? Didn't he do another show after he qualified? So, like, just because he didn't win, you know, doesn't mean like I could have lost at Texas if I didn't come in as good as I did. Like, Joe and Quentin looked amazing. Even John Jewett looked awesome. But we're collecting data for one thing. This is my job to be a bodybuilder, and it's also my job to establish myself as someone that belongs here. I don't want to ever hear, oh, that was a fluke that he won that show, or, you know, all the comments online. Like, for one thing, a guy like me, it's really hard to translate that striated muscle that the judges see from the judges panel into the live feeds. I know for a fact I didn't look the same on the live feeds from Tampa as I do in person. And, you know, there's another guy Hunter Labrada. I talked to him about this the other day. He's the same way. And I saw that at Texas Pro, my pro debut in 2023, when I saw him in person on stage I was on the sideline. I was like, this guy looks way different in person. That muscle is just hard and grainy and separated, you know? So sometimes it just doesn't translate to the live, and then the internet goes on a rampage and they want to speak their mind. So, which I'm fine with because it doesn't bother me. And I have the utmost respect for Quint. We really like each other. We both have had nice things to say about each other. We had a great time competing against each other on stage. And I respect all these guys, but at the same time, I'm here to win. I'm here to establish myself. So, you know, my goal was always Texas, so I was finishing that goal too, you know.
Yeah. So you had
And
already
very proud, by the way, of my boy Joe. I've known him for a while now, and very proud of his improvements.
I was going to say, Joe, I knew you were coming. I knew you were good. I did not see Joe coming at all, at
Right.
all. I feel stupid. Like, how could I have missed
I
it?
did. I knew he was coming, man. And if you had been in a fly on the wall in the conversations I was having prior to both shows, I was telling Justin, I was like, bro, honestly, I'm kind of worried about Joe more than anybody else. I said that prior to the show. I don't know if I've told Joe that personally, but I knew what he looked like in person because I'd been with him in person before and I saw the improvements he made. I was like, this guy's going to be very dangerous.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like I said, he's to move up to beat Quentin was, Quentin's no slouch. He's got that beautiful shape and structure. But
incredible physique.
you and Joe, I mean, I'm that's why I'm torn. Who's the most improved bodybuilder pro of the year? Is it you or is it Joe? I don't know. You both look so much better because I saw the Cali Pro last year, the stream. I don't even remember Joe. He made zero impression on me last year.
Yeah, he was like 15th, 13th or 15th.
Yeah, 15th. I got no idea. But here we are.
Yeah, so impressive, man. And I talked to him the other day at the Gasp event the day after the show, and we talked about his quad improvements, and he just really changed his training style to help keep his waist tighter while building that quad sweep. And again, it's like once you get to a certain level of muscle, you have to sometimes change your approach instead of just doing those heavy Smith or barbell squats, just training like we did when we started out. It has to evolve. And I think he really did a great job of adapting and evolving.
Yeah. But then you managed to get better for Texas because you'd already been prepping how long? For 16 weeks or 20 weeks or something?
It was about 15 weeks, probably 14 weeks total to Tampa. I got in shape really fast, man. Like I said, the food was pretty low pretty early on. And then we were able to feed up for a long time. I was ready like 4 or 5 weeks out, almost stage ready.
Yeah. I mean, so, and you're in shape now in the Olympia. What are we, 9 weeks out?
Inside almost 8. It'll be 8 this weekend.
Tomorrow. Yeah, because we're talking on a Thursday tomorrow. So tomorrow's 8 weeks. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, geez, that's coming right up.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was your first? Well, I got to get the Samson thing off. What was your first Olympia that you either attended or saw? I'm just curious.
Probably, man. You remember when Generation Iron came out?
Yeah.
What was that, 2014 or something like that?
13 or 14. It was one of those years.
That was the first time I was really watching bodybuilding. I was a big fan of Ben Pekulski. Obviously, like Phil Heath was put in a bad light in that Generation Iron movie.
Yes.
Where I came to have way more appreciation for Phil Heath later on in bodybuilding. Now he's one of my favorite physiques ever. Not that he wasn't then, it's just they painted him poorly in that. But regardless, around that time was when I really started watching bodybuilding. Okay. But what's funny is I've never been at the Olympia live in person before. So
wow,
my first time is going to be from the other perspective, looking at the crowd.
That's awesome. I mean,
yeah.
That obviously it's a legendary stage in Europe. There's some amazing guys you're going to share the stage with. I think top 10 is in your capabilities.
That's the goal, man. That's the goal. I mean, and I think if anybody comes in off with the way me and Chris peak, the door can be left open for me in a lot of places higher up. But top 10 is definitely my goal.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people saying top 5. I'm like, come on, guys.
So there's something swirling around. And you know how people will only read headlines?
Yeah.
And they won't even read the whole headline. They'll read the heading.
Yep.
And then underneath. So there was Jay Cutler came out and said, if Jordan can improve his back and continue to improve at the rate he's improving, I could see in the next couple of years he could be a top 4 threat.
Yes.
That's reasonable.
Right.
But then the headline says Jay Cutler says Jordan's a top 4 threat. And then it says in 2026. but nobody reads that or watches a video, and then I got blasted for it. So
Yeah, no,
that's the internet.
it drives me nuts that you can put something even in the caption, in the first line, they don't read it, and they're asking questions that were answered in that caption. But
yeah, nobody's read 2026. It was right there. It's pretty big lettering, but then they're in the comments like, "Are you serious? Do you know this guy, this guy, this guy's going to be there?" And it's like, just read the context. But either way, like hearing Jay Cutler say that, just enough that he believes in what he's seeing as far as my progress and what I present to the stage. Man, he's one of my all-time heroes. Like, he's in my top 4 favorite bodybuilders of all time. So maybe top 3. I love Jay. So that meant a lot.
yeah, I mean, I agree with him. You look at progression. So you look at what you've done from year to year, and the progression has been very steady. The back's getting better. The triceps, which I think you need more of, they're getting better. It's just it's a matter of time. And if you could make steady improvements, which I'm certain you will, I totally agree with Jay. But here's a question. So you're 8 weeks out now and you're shredded to the bone. What do you and Chris do? Do you sort of relax on the diet for a couple of weeks before you hit it hard again? Do you bump up the calories and then take them down? Because how do you maintain that peak for another 8 weeks?
And it's not sustainable. You can't. So like, we are basically trying to rest up this week. So 75% training, like not really pushing it super intense, not going super heavy. Obviously my joints are dry and everything. There's a bit of a water rebound post show from drying out and everything. And I've had a decent bit of food. Chris just wanted me to spend time with my wife, reconnect with my wife, reconnect with my friends. Gasp had a little mini celebration at the office yesterday, brought in donuts and stuff. And I didn't go crazy, like I'm reasonable. I never binge. I never am unreasonable with food, but regardless, my body rebounds pretty bad. So I have to be very careful with how much I consume. But it's it's been really nice to have some extra time with my wife. We're going to go out for brunch this weekend again. And then it's probably as of next week, I'm sure we'll lock it in and cut the meals out. But calories this week are moderate to allow for some food, cortisol drop, just get some normalcy. And I'm not going to add fat in a week. I'm too lean. My body's ripping through calories so fast. It's we basically are going to increase the food, increase the baseline diet after this week, probably come up to like the high 260s, just drive for training performance as much as possible, and then pull back down as needed. But it just depends on my body's response, because truly I can grow and be very efficient with recovery while being super lean, where some guys tend to get too fatigued and kind of fall apart. And I think they push too much cardio, go way too low on the carbs. They don't refeed the body enough whenever it seems to be needing a refeed. And we're not talking a cheat meal refeed. We're talking like just increase your rice, increase your fats and stuff that's already on your diet, take a day off cardio, whatever. Me and Chris know how to manage that really well. So being super lean is honestly very sustainable for me.
Wow. So what's the maximum amount of cardio that you were doing for this prep?
25 minutes.
Wow.
5 days a week. But we are big on steps. So I have an Apple Watch, and I take this off when I'm on my cardio. So none of the cardio that I do, and I push it hard to like 130, 140 heart rate.
Okay.
And I take it off so it doesn't count any steps there, but I wear it the rest of the day. And then we'll have a daily step goal. So like my steps are generally around 10,000 steps, which may not be crazy for some people, but when you're like 260 to 280, that burns a lot of calories. But it's the low fatiguing way to burn calories. And people want to make fun of doing step counts and like, oh, I'd rather do hard cardio. But it's a low fatigue way to burn calories. And ultimately, that's all we're doing, is putting ourselves in enough of a deficit to burn body fat. So that's just how Chris does things. It's very matter of fact. It's very logical, and just how the body is responding. And I don't really feel like I fatigued much at all this prep. I felt great.
Wow.
I was setting PRs on pressing movements and leg movements like 5 weeks out.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just we do things differently. And I think that a lot of people have a weird approach of just killing themselves in prep when you can start burning fat really, really early and get ahead of things so that you're not having to rush at the end and then your training falls apart.
Yeah. I mean, I always say people, the best way to get in shape is to just never get out of shape. So if these
Right.
people,
And then the other aspect too, though, I will say, is how hard me and Justin train. I've never trained that high volume and that intensely in a prep before. So I think that's the other aspect. Like Martin Fitzwater, he doesn't do much cardio at all in prep. And this was the first time I understood why. So
makes sense.
I think that helps a lot.
Well, I'm super excited that you're in the Olympia. You know, we've had a lot of the same cast of characters up there. It's always good to see new faces, fresh blood, because that's the nature of the sport. Guys eventually retire, and young talent comes in and takes their place, and that's you, Jordan. And going in with not one but 2 wins, you know, the point system. I kind of wish they bring that back, but I like the fact that people have to go in with a win now too. It's like they didn't get second and third place like over and over again. They actually won a show or two, like you're doing it. So
right.
There's no dispute. Did he really earn it? Does he really deserve to be on that Olympia stage? And again, had you won one show, people would say, well, who was in that show? Probably a weak lineup, and you know he's going to get his ass kicked at the Olympia. But 2 shows in a row, and the last 2 U.S. shows, they were packed. Those are some sick lineups. You know, those are no joke. So
26 guys at Texas.
Dude, we haven't seen. I can't remember the last time we saw an open lineup like that. It's been a while.
It was a late night.
That's right. We were all like, "Damn it, they're still going."
Yeah, I was like, "Damn it, all the restaurants are closing."
That's right. That's right. It's not Vegas. It's not a 24-hour town.
No.
But, so, man, I'm very happy for your success.
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing this. Like I said, this is like your 4th or 5th podcast this week. So, thank you for taking the time. And
thank you, man. I'm happy to do it.
Follow him there, and the link is on his Instagram bio to his YouTube channel. A lot of great content there. So check him out. So, Jordan, thank you so much. Appreciate the interview. And
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Check him out in 8 weeks on the Mr. Olympia stage. Thanks for